Welcome into K-State Online. I'm Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. Here we are Friday before our K-State football game. The
You're not the
energy
vendor.
levels, the energy levels are waning. Yeah, I got let out for a little bit. Uh I Drew, you're going to have to get me fired up like a lot of other people on why we should be engaged and why this should be fun to talk about because it's hard right now. Driving around earlier today, I was in my car for probably like 2 hours, just dancing around stations. I had three sports talk stations in Wichita. Didn't want to listen to any of them because I didn't even want to have the possibility of having to think about K-State. I already do that enough with my job. I couldn't handle it. Uh, Recruiting still nothing to panic about there for people. Like, what? Where do things sit?
No reason to panic. I mean, if you really want to read between the lines and everything kind of feels better on the recruiting front. I mean, DJ Ackerson is like somebody replied to, I think it was something like that. Cole Carmody of Go Power Cat wrote, and somebody commented like, "Oh, just it means nothing. He's just going to decommit," and then Ackerson replies to it and is like, "Nah, like I'm good where I'm at." And then you see like Hannibal Navy's doing the same thing. It's on our message board and in some articles that I've written. Like DJ Ackerson is a very wanted man by a pretty premier team in college football, and to see that he's still really willing to go to K-State and see it through and see it out just says a lot about what K-State has done in his recruitment. And again, just big picture overall, just kind of shows what recruiting really means when you're not having a good season. Some people think that guys will just decommit, and sometimes that happens, but it's not as common as you think, because a lot of guys, and I mean, we didn't see this because we obviously we don't cover Kansas, we don't really like Kansas football, but a lot of times, you have a season like this, a lot of the guys that come in think that they can be the difference maker and get it back to how it was and how it needs to be. And I think that you're kind of seeing that in this class. No real reason to panic. I mean, I feel pretty confident as it stands right now that all 16 commits in the class will end up signing with K-State. Obviously, things can change between now and signing day, but right now there's nothing that makes me think otherwise.
Yeah, and this has been the kind of the prevailing theme through a lot of this, the last couple of weeks when people have questioned this, and a lot of the same guys have been pretty steadfast in their commitment to make this happen. So that's at least a good sign for K State. If you think these guys are going to come in and be able to help make a difference for you, but obviously, with the way the season's gone, but more so, I just think the way that things have kind of started to align. We've seen a lot more offers go out recently. Some of that has to do with guys that they wanted months ago, but committed elsewhere. But those programs have gone down an even worse path. And so those coaches have been fired. And so there's been decommitments of guys that K State would still like. So we've seen a lot of that. And we talked yesterday that this is going to be a pretty significant recruiting weekend for this first home game in October. So, what
Yeah,
can you
only
tell us?
home game in
Yeah,
October.
only yeah. The schedules, it just feels like it's been weirder the last couple of years. The bye weeks certainly don't help. So, what can you tell us about the visitors for this weekend and what that means for K State?
Yeah, it's maybe the best recruiting weekend of the entire season so far to this point, which it is again shows that results on the field don't matter as much because it is kind of fascinating a little bit how that plays out. But you'll have a handful of commits in attendance this weekend. Max Lovett, second highest rated commit in the class, behind Tucker Ashford. Then DJ Ackerson, who I just mentioned, will also be in Manhattan. Nick McClellan. Remember in July when there was kind of maybe whispers about Iowa? All of that has disappeared. So again, that's another thing that like it makes you feel good because that's a team that could come in and really be a thorn in your side if they wanted to. But there's no real sign from McClellan or from K-State or Iowa even that's going to occur. There's one official visitor this weekend, was committed elsewhere or somewhere else, had a coach get fired, recruitment opens up, turning into a Big 12 battle, actually. He went from somebody that had like very little power for attention until he committed to this SEC program, and then ended up opening up his commitment. K-State's going after him pretty hard. Houston, West Virginia also involved. That narrows it down pretty much without me saying it. And then on the 2027 front, Riley Drew from Grayson High School, again, same high school as Hannibal Navy's, big time target in the 2027 class. K-State was his first offer after his freshman season. He came to a K-State camp, got offered there. 2027 recruit from the state of Georgia, and this is already his fourth time going to Manhattan. So like that is very significant and shows the interest that he has in K-State. I think K-State's probably at worst in the top 3, but probably in the top 2 and probably the top 1. And we'll likely get an official visit this summer. Carry-on Green from Texas, a newer offer, but is somebody that I think could really explode on the recruiting trail at some point. He is big, fast, long, can do a lot on the football field that you want all of your corners to do. And then just kind of a fascinating one, just because of the last name and because of the legacy. Jax DeJean, Cooper DeJean's little brother, that played at Iowa, visiting K-State this weekend. Iowa is the favorite. Like, I'm not going to like sugarcoat that, but like we've talked about at certain points where like getting second in a high school recruitment or like just kind of lingering can be advantageous for you in this new era, in this new world of college athletics. Like I would say that Iowa is like the pretty far favorite for DeJean, but the fact that he keeps coming back to K-State, because again, 2027 recruit from the state of Iowa, if he wanted to, he could just shut it down and just say that he's going to Iowa. But this is already going to be his, I believe, his fourth time in Manhattan. So like you're seeing a lot of guys that are showing like legitimate interest in the 2027 class, and even in the 2028 class, there's a handful of guys that I'll be keeping an eye on to see if they end up getting offered or not.
Well, and even though I know some might think that K-State isn't in too far off of this situation, when you talk about Iowa in particular for guys, obviously there is probably a shelf life on Kirk Ferentz's career,
Yeah,
with how things seem to be going up there. So if
and that's also a program
anybody over the next 2-3 classes that ends up at Iowa, you want to try to keep yourself in that race to the end to where you're the viable option if something goes down and nobody wants to stick there for a regime change.
Yeah, that's also like a program where there's no like real obvious candidate that I think that everybody would want. So that's another like fascinating component of that. And Jax DeJean, tight end, does not play defense like Cooper does.
Well, then there you go. Is that good or bad that he doesn't play defense like his brother?
I mean, he is a very, very good tight end. Like he's one of the best in the 2027 class. I think Rivals now has him as like he's the number 16 tight end in the country. So he's doing all right. He's too big to play defense. He's 6'4".
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it works out there. That would certainly that's a name that would get fans excited, and I think the big picture thing to keep in mind with the names that you've said here, and then some of the other, you know, um, I guess ways that you've laid out what's going on for K-State recruiting right now is that the mindset of the recruits is still K-State is a viable option for them. And it doesn't seem like K-State is losing ground in the recruiting world right now in some crazy way. I think there's still going to be questions, and there may be some little battles here and there, but and again, I understand that fans may not like that this is the way things are looking because I get when people get to burn it down mode. You don't want anything going well, so it just ends, and you can restart with something new that gives you more hope. But um, that's not a very likely outcome. So the
The,
next best scenario for you is that what is currently happening for K State is that when they are recruiting, guys still look at them as that's where I want to go. K State is not damaged goods in the eyes of recruits yet. And I really don't know that K State's damaged goods in the eyes of the national public or even the regional public, like within the conference. I think it's just K-State fans know that, okay, this team has failed the last 3 years relative to what they should have done and the way that it's looked and the way that it's felt. And I think there are a lot of other teams, a lot of national analysts that look at it and go, yeah, welcome to college football. You're just living life like the rest of us right now.
I think that
And I'm not saying that's like the total right approach, but like that's what you're seeing in this, and why the perspective has to be kept.
the vibes that you get from like national and regional media is more of like this kind of feels like the like a blip, kind of like Utah last year and how Utah was being perceived nationally, of like, this is weird, this doesn't really happen. Because again, like in our lifetime, there hasn't been like a season like this that we can really remember. Like the closest that could really get to this, and I'm not even counting 2018, Bill, because like it was clear that it was over in 2017 and like should have been over after they won the bowl game against UCLA. So in 2016 even, so like you kind of could tell that it was pretty much over at that point. The closest would be like 2004 probably, and we were like 6. So I don't really count that. So I think that you see like that's kind of how K-State's being perceived nationally, as like, this is a program that has never failed to meet what I think the national expectation of K-State is, which is to win 8 or so games, go to a pretty good bowl game, maybe win it and get to 9 games. Every once in a while, like compete for the Big 12. And that's kind of like the similar story to like what Utah has been under Kyle Whittingham, and why I think those two teams and programs are being compared to like what Utah did last year and like what K-State did or is doing this year. So that's something to keep in mind. And again, recruiting is never a static or a linear process. There are things that come up and you're like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening now. Or it can be kind of like that slow burn, takes a long time to really get there. K-State's not behind in recruiting for this year. In fact, they're starting to really turn up the heat, and I think we're going to see. There's already 2 official visits for November 1st for the Texas Tech game, but I think there might be a couple more. I think that it's probably pretty likely that you're going to see official visits for the Colorado game at the end of the season. You don't typically see like a bye week official visit during a season, but like maybe they could work something there. Anyway, they're turning up the heat in the 2026 class. They're not behind in 2027. They're not necessarily ahead in 2027, but like that's more of just a national perspective thing. I think that how K-State and other Big 12 teams, because you look around the Big 12, not a lot of 2027 commits at this point. I wouldn't want to get a 2027 commit until about November, December, January, and then you kind of get the ball rolling. And that's just with how the calendar works. Like, you don't want to have to play defense for 18 months on a guy. Like, one of the best prospects in the country in the 2027 class committed to Penn State this past March and like just decommitted today. Like, I would much rather wait. And you feel a lot better because then again, like I said, like you're just playing defense for so long. and there's so long until signing day in 27 that it's a lot better to just hold off a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how it continues to go for K-State. But big weekend with commitments that are going to be in Manhattan, and then guys at K-State would like to turn into commitments. So there will be a lot coming over the next week or two with the fallout from all those visits and what they experience, what they see, and it's going to give these guys an opportunity to see and feel things a little bit more in person than just having to react from what they see from afar, results based wise with K-State. As we know, that hasn't been great this year, but the resounding sentiment keeps being that these guys are sticking through it, and they're all about K-State still. So I mean, again, people aren't into it right now, but that would be a credit to what the staff is currently doing, is that these guys all still feel locked into what they've jumped aboard with.
Yeah, that it really is a credit to what they have done to make it, because this could fall apart pretty easily if they let it, and they haven't let it, and instead they keep adding more and more names that we're hearing that K-State's going after. You haven't asked me outside of I think it was our show on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know. But I think I'm picking a win this week. I don't know why. Just feeling good.
I kind of just picked one because I was like, yeah, I guess probably maybe it'll happen. So I don't
Cats
know.
have owned the Frogs recently, and Kleiman's only lost to them once, and it was when 3 quarterbacks had to play.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
Sonny Dykes has only beat K-State that one time.
you brought up 16, 17, 18 in there, and now like looking back on it, it starts to kind of trigger with me. I go, man, like the the similarities are there in a like a pretty similar way to now. K-State lost to, outside of Vanderbilt, better teams in 2017 than what they lost to down the stretch in 2024. Although, I mean, I guess I can't really say that. Two of the losses were Arizona State, and uh, so I guess really it is probably pretty comparable. That Houston loss just does a lot of heavy lifting, but like that team now, their bad month was October that year. They went 1-3 in October with losses to Texas, TCU, and Oklahoma. But then outside of that, they got it pulled together and played good football, and they finished the year 8-5. Although that team was supposed to be a Big 12 title contender, went out the door early with that Vanderbilt loss and the expectations there, and then they had quarterback problems and everything. But I mean, you look to last year, like that team was supposed to contend for a Big 12 title spot, and they had one bad month that tanked them. And then the following year for 17 into 18, we obviously know it did not go very well for them because they ended up just completely collapsing. It was bad losses galore, including a couple of one-score losses in there to Texas and Baylor. And same type of thing for this year, where it's now just completely fallen out from under you. So there are some slight differences from where the program was then to now, because there wasn't much recruiting being done back then. There's still a
There
lot
was
of recruiting
0.
going on right now, but it's just another one of those things where this doesn't have to do with recruiting, but just thinking forward, you go, the only thing that I have to compare this to did not go very well at the end. So K-State right now trying to flip the script from what many probably are equating to 17 and 18. That'll do it for us today. We'll be back again tomorrow after the game. K-State and TCU. Fan will join us for the KSO postgame live right here on the KSO YouTube, and then it'll be available after we're done live on all the podcast platforms. So for Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Vo. Thanks for watching and listening. We will talk to you tomorrow after the Cats and Frogs.